Ontario.
And we've got some offense in play with that rock stopping just in time, just short of the house.
You know, we've seen these really tight guards be a little bit of an issue for some of the teams out here this week. The ice running maybe a little bit straighter than some of them are used to, very fast. We've seen plenty of heavy misses throughout the week, but these tight guards can be really tricky. You have to play it so tight to get it by and make sure you're buried at the end. Grace playing the smart call here, playing the intern. She should get a little bit of extra finish here.
Help.
Sadie McCutcheon on, Julia Markle on the inside trying to get a little bit of extra finish for Sadie McCutcheon-Stone.
Well, and the nice thing about those tight guards that Team Johnston just put up is that it's able to be tapped up fairly easily, and like you mentioned, hard for the opposition to get around. So now, even though it's a great call by Team Johnston just to freeze and not necessarily go after it.
8, 7. We can bump. Gotta let it break. Whoa.
Cooper's calling maybe a little bit solid here. This has been a big issue, or the big thing that's been catching a lot of teams, I should say, this week is that little bit of extra weight, even just 2 feet heavier than you want to throw on a freeze, or even a couple hits, things like that, and it just runs so much straighter than you expect it to. A lot of the curl here at this club has been very late, so you're just that little bit heavy, like on that last shot, wanted to be T-line, was maybe a bit closer to back 8, back 12, and just doesn't come up to the face. Stick around on this hit. She won't. Removes the yellow stone, but rolls out of the rings. Johnston's decision. She's going to try and hit this red one, flop him behind. Fortunately, with this red one behind the tee line, maybe not an ideal situation. Would have liked to stick around top button if they could put a rock anywhere, but moving this red stone, keeping the risk low for themselves here in the second end.
Hard, Kayla. Hard, Kayla. Hard, Kayla. Moving it. Hard over.
That's the benefit of that nice, calm, hit weighted, stick around over on the side 8.
It's really been the difference between sort of the teams that have struggled this week and the teams that have been able to excel and move on to these semifinals. Just those little things. You don't necessarily always have to make the shot you're calling. Like here, they don't make the hit and roll, but they keep the shooter around, and that forces Grace to make a move on it rather than having a free opportunity to, say, draw around the center or peel the center and play for the blank. Really sort of dictates how the game is going to play out.
Yeah, go under, yeah.
And for the teams, as they progress through their curling career, they'll get more comfortable using those different kinds of weights too, and bringing the weight down, especially on straighter ice, or even throughout the weekend. Just have the confidence that you can throw it well, you throw it a little less weight, and you can bring the brushers into it more.
Barda trying to keep the broom down on this one, hold it. She'll get a roll a little bit too far. We'll see if it's able to hold on to the rings. One extra spin of the stone, and I think it just went too far. It is outside, so decision time here for Grace Cave. Of course, with such a tight center guard up will generally benefit the team without the hammer, so don't think it would be any issue to just walk up and peel, maybe play for the blank, or maybe even try and hit and roll to a corner. But I think this is a good sign for us, at least, that these teams are willing to play with a bit of extra aggressiveness. Calling to come around for Emily Madaw. Just sailing through the ring, so been talked all week about how fast the sheets have been out there, how tough it's been for a lot of teams to adjust. Been getting around 15 and a half, hog to hog. on most of our draws this week.
Especially at the beginning of the game with the teams not having to practice, they're coming out cold on the sheet and trying to figure out the different spots. So same here, we're getting a good look now at the speed of the ice on the other side of the sheet.
It seemed to indicate it might be a little heavy out of her hand. Close though, so it might not be all that bad. Be able to grind down. Grace Cade trying to take this out the back of the rings. That'll just slip through as well. So 2 open misses here in a row in the second end. We're right back to where we were. He's going to ask Julia Markle now to attempt this in-turn come around, this tight center guard.
Nice, it's speedy today. Hear that comment, all just going through today. But
And that can be a little bit a difference there. Of course, it was Emily who threw that first one that sails through, and then they switch up. Now it's Julia's first, so can be maybe just that different thrower, still trying to get that feel, but it's really important to have those discussions in between those stones. And even though you need to get that feeling in your own legs, understand what that draw weight is like, discussing with your teammate who might have just thrown that spot, and we would be able to let her know, give her some reassurance to really try to throw that lightweight, try to throw a guard, let the sweepers work it the rest of the way.
just a little late on the sweep. I think that came up shorter than they expected. So now 2 of those Yellowstones right up front.
I think that one was just touched into the ring, so Grace can't ignore it anymore. She's going to try to remove this stone. I'm sure would like to get a little bit of a roll, if not to maybe a bit of a corner guard. She can grab a touch of the rings and sit shot. Be very beneficial the rest of the end. Not quite enough, but rolls to interesting spot. It's almost as if both draws to the button are now blocked. We're probably going to see a couple draws coming across center here to try and get around these tight guards.
Now what's interesting about this, Maz, they're taking this turn, but if they leave any piece of this open, there'll be a hidden roll opportunity. Now maybe you can tell me this after watching the sheet the whole time. First instinct would be to go the other way so that if a piece is open, the opposition can't roll behind. Is it a lot straighter when you get out to the 12 foot?
It is, and I think, I definitely think if you're trying to get buried, this is the easier way to do it. But you're definitely right. If you don't quite get that finish, and we have seen, as I mentioned in the first end, once these rocks start to cross the center line, they really straighten out, lose that little bit of finish you're looking for. So, yeah, I think you still need to play this pretty close to the guard to try and get it buried, but this is the easier way if you're trying to make this shot perfect. A little bit heavy. We see them try to bring this all the way back to try and get some late finish, get it buried. Up with it about half buried, so may see what you were talking about now, Danielle.
Now they have 2 options here. Could either play the hidden roll, which looks like they came to, or they could even just try to come down and freeze or draw it. And really at this point, it's a bit of preference. It's behind the tee line, so if they can get a nice hidden roll in behind the red corner guard, or even a bit poking on the outside of the red, that would be perfect.
Yeah, I was gonna say relax. We gotta relax.
In semifinals, not the only championship matchups going on in this draw. The men's U21 semifinals are underway. A couple sheets over to our right. Team Herman from Switzerland facing off against Team Dobson. Right beside them, Team Sampson from the United States playing it off against Kyle Stratton. It's going to be very close. Get a little bit of a roll, but not quite enough to get it buried. I think it's just about edge on edge with the guard.
Just overcooked a hair on the sweeping call. They're getting to carve a little too hard.
Sorry, you threw it really well.
But in the end, nice thrown rock, so they learned something about that spot.
11-7.
I'm really impressed with the weight control as well. Not overthrowing that. Throwing just enough weight to make it. Fortunately, as you said, just missed maybe the line call a little bit, but that's kind of the thing that you want to see, especially from these young teams. The ability to control the shooter is the most important thing about those shots. Second rock for Charlotte Johnston here in the second end of play. Love to keep their shooter around. They take away any split opportunities for Team Cave. Fortunately, going to roll and roll right out of the ring. So decision time now for Grace. Taking a look at that tight red guard, definitely splittable.
Oh, listening to their conversation here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. A little up. That's
Whatever
okay.
you like, we can throw it away too.
No, we can try this.
Okay. Like a little less? I think so.
You like a little less?
Huh?
That's easy.
No, this is good. I like it.
And
Great.
they
I
are
was going
gonna
to say,
take it
great.
on.
Well, it's a
Yep.
great conversation that the initial response from Skipper was just to throw it away, start going, and it was Julia who said, "Oh, hold on, what about that split?" And I mean, if you have a chance to take two in the end, might as well give it a try. And that rock is fairly tight to the ring, so call is split with back four way.
I feel like this is a call. As long as you're semi-comfortable with this spot on the sheet, I think it's worth taking on. Of course, you'd hate to somehow miss it and get forced, but I think if you throw that just through weight, so if you ever do sail by, you take it through, you get your blank, try to play it pretty aggressively and see if you can get your two here. Keep throwing it a little bit too safe. Sadie McCutcheon trying to get a little bit of curl here. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. Sails right by the red, so fortunately misses the split, but I think that's the sort of professional way to throw that stone. Again, you don't want to get forced here. Sails by, gets her blank, put a 0 up on the board. Team Johnston still with a 1-0 lead. We'll be back after a quick commercial break.
Doesn't matter if you're just learning how to play.
Or competing at the top level of the game.
We all go for fun.
And Gold Line gear?
This is for everyone.
These shoes are more comfortable than ever.
These are stable.
These make me slide straight.
These make me slide fast.
The new impact head maximizes performance.
And can we talk about grip zone technology?
Because it's on the brooms and the gloves.
Beginner or pro, they got something for you.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a Gold Line.
And it's the choice of champions.
We're back as play picks up here in the third end. This semifinal matchup.
Okay, Sadie.
Looking back at that last shot there by Grace Cave in the second, attempting that split. That is probably the straightest spot on the sheet we've seen all week. So maybe not a bit of a surprise that you throw that a little bit safe. You want to just try and touch that on the way by. Don't quite get the curl. Sails right by, but still a very good outcome for Team Cave. I'm sure if you told them going into that end they could get the blank, hold on to the hammer one more, they wouldn't necessarily be upset with that.
Now they've got a good looking one coming into the rings here.
Really nice, Sadie.
Beautiful team shot there to Barry, even actually poking out a little on the sideline side.
So perfect. 55 is close. That dug in a lot. That dug in more
So
than
Johnston asking for lead killer Crookshank to play the intern, come down, freeze to that redstone that was just thrown by Sadie McCutcheon.
Now we're out. We don't lead. 7.
Seems to be very close here. It's up to the sweepers. Lock this right on the redstone.
Sierra, you're off. to it. Yep, 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 yep.
And what a beauty.
So that sort of sets up the entire end now for the Johnston team. Cuts down the scoring area. 14 Cave, also a great angle on that red rock to remove it later if they ever so choose.
We're looking for that inside corner freeze, and even here, even if it's all about the line for this one, so a freeze right on it would be great. Even small tap if they have the line to rearrange the angles.
Marco on the outside, Emily Madaw on the inside. Maybe calling a little bit heavy. Might get that bump you were talking about, Danielle. They'd love to get it right up to the nose if they can. Maybe a foot or two extra weight than they were looking for, but I still think a pretty good outcome. Keeps a good angle on that yellow stone. I think it will jam if they try to hit it, but should be an opportunity here. Team Johnston gonna try and lock down this area a little bit more. Throw a freeze onto that back red rock. Sit 2. Second for Team Johnston is Sierra Hardwick.
Yeah, great result there. Not shot rock as they planned, but still choking off that right-hand side of the sheet. So here comes the peel from Team Cave.
And removes that yellow rock from play, loses the shooter. Trying to just ensure that they have an open opportunity to score later this end. Johnston going to continue to guard this up. I think it really will come down to Team Cave to sort of push the envelope, try to get things moving in the rings. I think I like the position of both those yellow stones for Team Johnston. Difficult to remove sort of either one of them without losing one of the reds as well. Sweep is calling a little bit heavy on this one. Feeling like it might slide into the top of the 12, top of the 8-foot.
Yeah, tighter than they wanted, but it's not a bad result. Still now forcing Team Cave into making a play in the rocks in the house.
Alright. Nice, easy 10, you got it, Emily.
I didn't hear the weight calls the last couple ones. I can hear, like, tell what you're saying, but I just couldn't hear
Okay.
it.
I'll tell everybody. Collectively, we just need to be a little louder then.
Yeah.
Whoa.
others.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Whoa. Yep. Hard, Titi. Hard, Titi.
Losing the touch and trying to hold on to this stone.
We have to be a
Remove.
little louder.
Actually very good. I didn't think you could remove that yellow stone without moving that one at the back. Is able to push it by, so only one lonely yellow now there in the rings, Danielle.
A little less.
To be a little bit careful now if you're Team Johnston.
Whoa.
As you can see, they don't quite have all of that red rock to make the double, so great call here just to use that backline weight to punch it back.
Yeah, that had nice curl to it.
I mean, limit some of the damage here, remove this red stone on the right-hand side. Ideally, would love to roll in front of
It worked out
maybe that
fine.
other red rock on the center line.
Sorry, Sadie.
Keep the center of the house inaccessible to Team Cave as much as possible, but this one, a little bit of curling to do.
Whoa. Zero. Little roll.
A bit of a roll.
Now, it does set up a nose hit, and red could be sitting 3 after this.
That's going into that
Maybe just
one.
a bit of a misread on the line. We're sweeping to sort of get a little bit of extra curl. Called them off, switch back to the straight side right at the end. That rolls to sort of the other side of the red rock. I think that's a perfect spot, but as you said, hit this yellow on the nose. You can definitely get both yellows moving. There's stone from Julia Marco here in the third end of play. Big shot here, attempting to remove both yellows. Gets one, gets two. Second yellow doesn't quite get out of the rings, but I think you're very happy if you're Team Cave, and especially getting a little bit of a flop in too with that red. I think the double is still accessible, but just that much more difficult now for Team Johnston.
Yeah, beautiful shot to sit 3, and now you can see there is that double there, either the straight back double, or even if they breeze by that one in the top, maybe even catching the back red.
Hazel Barta and her second rock here in the third end, trying to clean up, get her team out of trouble. A little bit full out of her hand. Kayla Crookshank trying to get a little bit of extra curl here, remove the red stone. She will touch it. Watch that yellow on the side, jams it. So fortunately, red still sitting 3 here and throwing a big opportunity now for Team Cave.
I'm really dropping the ball here.
You know, you're throwing those kinds of shots, Danielle. I sort of think I understand what might have been going on there. You look at that shot and you see the guard up and you think of, oh, well, you know, if you hit the guard, they're still going to be sitting 3, and you just try to play it a little bit safe on that straight side. Doesn't come back for you. Very unfortunate with that one yellow rock over on the side to get a catcher, but definitely big opportunity here for Julia Markle.
Curling to the point where it almost looked like it picked, and this is going to be on the yellow.
The ice conditions here at the Oshawa Curling Club have been very good all week. We have seen a number of those. You wouldn't even go so far to say as it's an obvious pick, but it seems to just grab sort of a soft spot, loses its hand a little bit, and you just get that little bit of extra movement when you're expecting. Usually it's on those sort of heavier stones where the sweepers are backing off, and a lot of teams have gotten burned this week by sort of not keeping that broom down, keeping that nice hard clean all the way. Just a little bit of that going on that shot, and so still ends up in a pretty good spot. Actually bumps that yellow. It's difficult to tell if it bumped it in, but I believe red is still sitting 3. Is guarding both of the red stones in the center of the ring. So if you're Team Johnston, you could hit that open stone, but you're almost conceding the opportunity for 3 if you do that. So I think she's going to try and be a little bit more aggressive here, actually tap this yellow stone up into the pile in the forefoot. This rock's moving quite a bit as well. Watch that red stone. You don't want to bump that in. Touches off, bumps the yellow, pushes it into the 8-foot, so does end up cutting down one of the red stones so far. No stone in the rings. Grace has to be very careful about. Charlotte can't see about half of that stone on the outside, so she can't tap that into the forefoot, but she needs to with her last.
Yeah, on the dot.
So they're talking about coming around the center line guard here and to lay 3. Also important for them to recognize what the tolerance is on this shot. And like you mentioned, Matt, there's that tap available. So if they don't get theirs perfectly behind that guard, they want to make sure that they also have a tap or some sort of a run in for their next.
Yeah, because there's no way you hit it out unless you throw like buckets away. Yeah. So. And you're really unlucky. Yeah.
First drop here from Grace Cave. Opportunities definitely up on the board here for a multiple score, but needs to put this rock in a very good spot. Would love to freeze it right down to her own. Sweepers definitely didn't seem to hate that for the first half of the way. Sadie McCutcheon having her broom down It just slides through, so maybe just,
Sorry.
I know that's the first time I think that anyone's ever been sort of out that far, maybe just getting caught a little bit by a new spot in the sheet.
And it had the brushing on that quite a while, so they swept through the curl.
Yeah.
Settled back for, but now this tap here for Team Johnston.
So if she's able to get this into the forefoot, it'd be very difficult for Team Cave to remove it. One thing you have to pay attention to here is where the shooter ends up. You almost want to hit this a little bit thinner than you expect to make sure that the shooter rolls far enough that you don't just leave an in-off double right back for 4 or 5 in this case. Bit of a miscue by Grace Cave, and now it's up to Charlotte Johnston, a chance to take it all away. Very good tap here into the forefoot. Sweepers are on it early. You're thinking it's a little bit light.
Yep, hard, guys. Hard.
It seems to be very close. He's going to make contact with this yellow stone, push it back onto the red stone, back of the forefoot, and I hate to say it, but maybe a bit of a game saver here early in this third end of play. Red still shot stone, but no real easy double for Team Cave. Can definitely, and no easy draw either, would need to draw the side of the button for her second point.
A cold draw, and the nice thing is she just threw this spot, and so they're aware of the speed of the ice and also how it curls.
Close for line. It's curling, yes!
Final stone here by Grace Cave. Now they're on it. Need to get it by both of these red stones. Looks like it's just going to end up over curling. She'll make contact with the red. Can you push the yellow back? Just not quite enough weight. So they are able to score their single point, but chalk that up as a win for Charlotte Johnston. An excellent tap with her final stone. Limits the damage here. We're going to go into the fourth end tied 1-1. We'll be right back after these messages.
I missed a shot. I made the wrong call. I didn't sweep hard enough. We let you down.
At least that's what they say.
Like they want us to quit. But that's not who we are. That's not what champions do. Champions fight back.
Champions rise again.
Champions are resilient. And make no mistake,
we are champions.
Gold Line, the choice of champions.
Welcome back. Fourth end action here kicking off between these two teams. Lots of opportunities there for Team Cave, but sort of taken away by Charlotte Johnston with her last. If you were their coach, Danielle, what would you be saying to maybe Team Cave, who maybe understands that an opportunity sort of slipped away from them there?
Just to keep learning about what, when they're making those great shots, what got them to that point. And then also a few of their misses that last end. It's just about a rock placement and slipping behind the tee, and also recognizing the role that brushing plays into it. We saw them brush the curl out of the first stone, and then that their last rock where they were drawing for 2 started curling, and that was with brushes up. So just recognizing the role that plays in order to make more shots, because really those were 2 pretty well thrown stones, and just a bit on the brushing could have had them. So, but Team Johnston, you could hear them breathe a sigh of relief after that end. So it's up to Team Cave to put that pressure back on.
Trying to get another center guard up, force some rocks into play. We'll see if this one's able to hang on. It just slip in. The decision here for Charlotte Johnston. Looked like they're going to hit it. Try to keep things clean here in the fourth end. Of course, we know what's on the line here, Danielle. A trip to Switzerland, represent your country, and experience that sort of both of us have been very fortunate in our careers to do. I know it's maybe not, an official Curling Canada sort of Team Canada World Championship kind of thing, but I think you would agree that any chance that you have to sort of go somewhere to wear the maple leaf on your back, represent your home country, is just an incredible experience at any age, but will definitely provide huge benefits to whoever's able to win this game at such a young age, provide them with so much experience for the rest of their careers.
Absolutely. And especially getting that experience talked about earlier, playing in a pressure game here where there is something huge on the line. And yes, also to wear a maple leaf on your back and have that jacket.
Maybe a little bit of a heavies here in this fourth end. First 3 stones, trying to throw up some center guards, slipping into the rings. So I imagine Team Johnston will continue to remove these.
Sweepers are really just trying to adjust to what they're seeing. You got to believe. So you talk about the things that the team should be talking about in between ends is what is the speed of the ice, what paths, what speed, and just so that you trust it. The same with your throws. With straight ice, you can be tricked into thinking that you may need to soften your throw, but we saw a couple ends ago how a softened throw over curled, and so it can be tricky in that way. So you just need to reassure yourself of your throw and the speed of the ice.
You're pretty up there. You're pretty up there.
Emily Madaw here in the fourth end, daughter of Wayne and Sherry Madaw, of course, well known to curling fans. Had a quite successful careers, the both of them, but now with the opportunity to sort of sit back here, they've been here this week watching, cheering her on. Sherry was actually in the booth with me yesterday, her first experience commentating. She did quite well.
You definitely better say that loud enough as she's sitting right beside the booth.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. Trying to stay in her good books. I'm going to get a center guard up here, and it looks like Charlotte's going to continue to just remove these from play. Content to play for the blank here in the fourth end.
I could tell Sadie wanted to sweep it right out of your hand.
Hazel.
It's a little bit of sense. Yes, Charlotte made an excellent shot last end to get the force from Team Cave, but they were in a little bit of trouble, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they got spooked a little bit, are content to play an end sort of open with fewer rocks in play to not get themselves in quite as much trouble, albeit they do have hammer this end as well, so they could have played a little bit more risky, but I'm sure they're happy to play blank, move into the back half of the game tied with the hammer. It's Julia Markle's turn to toss up this center guard.
7-3. He threw that. Good.
Got just enough finish to come up to more of a center line guard. Now, interestingly, you're switching strategies here instead of going with blank. They're feeling, and perhaps it's where that rock is a little bit off center and a little higher. Now that's more accessible for come around.
It's been an absolutely fantastic event this week, Danielle. A lot of work put in by Grant Cowan and the organizing committee. It's not, talking to him, I was able to drive down sort of a day before the event started, and I was having a conversation with him about sort of what he wanted to do with the event. And of course, as I said before, one of the most important things was that trip to Switzerland. But not only that, the way he sort of envisions this event as not just a competition where the curling is sort of the only thing that's going on. He really wanted to make it into an actual sort of event where the teams are able to sort of build friendships, to meet new people, really enjoy themselves. And so most of the draws, every day we started a little bit earlier than normal to get 4 draws in, and then the 2 nights, one night there was sort of an exhibition mixed doubles matchup. Last night they had sort of a hot shots competition, just to sort of advertise a bit more of just being able to enjoy the game rather than coming here, especially throughout the holidays, and just being focused on the competition side of things.
It's great to see that being brought back into the sport, especially for the younger curlers. I mean, times have been changing and there's more seriousness earlier on. So it's nice to remember why we're all here at the end of the day, which is to have fun, because most people certainly aren't making a living doing this. Nice weight on that one. Just didn't see the finish. So now here's an opportunity for Team Cave to make the roll in behind the guard.
So it was pretty much the same spot we saw them throwing last end with a couple takeouts. So I would imagine Grace is going to be pretty close here. They're really the kinds of shots where the less weight you can throw, I think, the better. It's going to be more controllable. Give yourself a better opportunity to get right in behind the guard. As long as you're comfortable with it, you know what that kind of weight is going to do. The less you can throw here, and still, as long as it still removes that yellow stone from play, the better. A little bit solid out of her hand here, the sweepers seem to say. Lady McCutcheon trying to get some curl here to keep the red rock around. I'm going to give Charlotte Johnston another free opportunity here. Remove the yellow rock from play, roll out. This is a bit interesting to me, Danielle. They've sort of played the whole end, peeling these center guards, removing rocks in the ring. Seemed extremely content to blank this end, and now that they've gotten onto skip stones, there is a center guard up, and even the last couple shots, deciding to switch it up and go around. Could have just continued to peel. You know, you're bringing some risk into play. If you ever don't make a good shot, you slip a little deep. Grace comes down, freezes to you. Now all of a sudden you're forced. Do you think that risk is worth it here in the fourth end?
I like that they chose a different turn. You heard them talk about, we're just not going to bury on that side. They don't have the confidence. Try to bury around the other side. Plus, it's good if they ever drop this one short, it wouldn't be in the middle of the rings. But they need this rock to find some breaks first.
Kayla's rock, wait only. We're back?
Leave it?
We're back on its own, though. Well,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Looks like it should grind in back of the 8 foot, and it will.
Okay, it's fine.
So again, would have loved to see that one top 4, but this is sort of the risk that I was mentioning you're bringing into play. Now that you've slipped a little deep, you've left Grace an opportunity here. Still have to be careful here if you're Team Cave and decide what it is you want to do. If you're content with the force, probably have a little bit more wiggle room to just draw right down to that yellow stone, play the freeze, allow Charlotte to draw the 4 foot for her single point. You could also try and go a little bit more aggressive, really go for the steal here, try to draw the top of the button, but of course if you do that and you maybe leave it at half open, then you're bringing the 2 back into play.
And going with the curlier side of the ice for this throw. I have this very top 4.
Whoa! No, Sadie.
Annalise rock!
Sadie, off!
Sadie!
That definitely seems to have grabbed something. It's
Still picking.
lost most of its rotation, going sideways. Sweeper's trying to get anything they can, but I think this is going to end up stopping just short of the ring, so unfortunate situation there for Grace. The pick, I think the sweepers sort of seemed to like it the first half of the way too, but either way, it's going to be a wide open draw here for Charlotte Johnston. Replicate her first stone of this end for her second point. It's going to be a very big swing in this match, I think.
That was just a very unfortunate pick in time for it, but sometimes if it's gripper marks on the ice, there's really nothing you can do about that, even if you have a broom down on it.
There's no point in messing with the guard.
So final rock here in the fourth end. Opportunity to maybe take control of this game after an unfortunate miss. Charlotte Johnston hit the ocean for your second point.
Has to be in. You're fine. You're good.
Sweepers seem to like it. Might be a little bit solid. She does have the backing to play to. Looks like it's going to curl up to that. It will grind in. Back of the 8-foot. Count that as her second point. She takes a 3-1 lead. Big swing in this match, but Team Cave will try to strike back with hammer of their own in the fifth end after these commercials.
Hey guys, welcome to the Stu Sells team's brand new listing, and we are in Rosedale, one of the most expensive, prestigious neighborhoods in the city. Now, the best thing about this house is you have two options. You can buy this house for the lot, 42 feet by 100 feet deep, and you can do whatever you want. You can build your dream house here because you have tons of lot coverage, so you can make tons of square footage. Or if you want to just go inside, you could take this house. It's so cute. It's a little 1.5 story. You could totally renovate it, update the kitchen, update the bathrooms, put some new hardwood floors in. Don't spend a lot of money and you could have a really super cool home. So there's a ton of potential. And oh my gosh, you can't beat this location. All the bike paths are close by. If you want to go biking up to Sunnybrook Park or down by the Don River or bike downtown, you've got the Evergreens, which is super cool. You can go to Somerhill, some great little shops, restaurant, cafes. You can go up to Leaside and up on Bayview, cool little restaurants, funky shops. There is so much to do, and it's a great neighborhood, great schools, great place to raise a family. So look, go to StuSells.ca, see all the photos, the virtual tour, the video, and give me, Stu, a call for a personal tour.
Nice shot, Sadie. Oh, she got guard weight.
Welcome back for the second half of this semifinal matchup of the Canadian Junior Cup, coming to you live from Oshawa, Ontario. My name is Matthew Hall. Beside me in the broadcasting booth once again is Danielle Inglis. And Danielle, what sort of, if you could sort of give a report card to each team after the first half of that game, especially if you were maybe say the Team Cave's coach after such maybe a bit of an unfortunate break there leading to 2-4 Team Johnston. What would you say to them in between ends there if they had a fourth end break?
Both teams have had a lot of great shots, but they've also had some missed opportunities. We go back to end one, and it was a flash by Team Johnston that led to having to put a bit more pressure on the skip in the end. Team Cave putting that pressure on, but then in N3 there, Team Cave gave up an opportunity for a potential big end just with missed shot, and then Team Johnston making the shot. So really it's about taking those opportunities when they come and recognizing how important it is. Also, in both teams' cases, looking for that plan B shot or that tolerance. Where can they be is huge. And speaking of tolerance, making a shot, that worked out quite well.
B shot. Takes that yellow, rolls in behind, but I absolutely agree. I think especially from Team Cave's perspective, you have to understand, you might feel a little bit dejected. You sort of gave up an opportunity in the third end. Very unfortunate break in the fourth end to have that pick, give the free draw for two, but you have to understand that you constructed that opportunity in the third end from your own good play, and I think You just need to continue to push through, continue to make your shots, play well. Give yourself a couple more of those opportunities and try to capitalize on them in the back half of this match. Johnston trying to get a little bit of extra curl here, push this Redstone out from behind the guard. Makes contact, not enough to remove it from play, but does push it into the open. It can be removed later. Cave sort of has to make a bit of a decision here. You could take on the risk, ignore those 2 yellows, and try to sink another rock around that corner. Like she maybe wants to play things a little bit safe here to start. At least remove one of these yellow stones.
That one didn't stop on Kayla's.
Dawes' first stone here will remove the yellow stone from play. Very close to the double, but gets a little bit of a roll to the outside.
It looks like they were trying to play that hidden roll, but then as it was holding out, they tried to call the audible on the double, but what was important is they kept their shooter in play.
Now it's Sierra Hardwick's turn to remove this red stone. Important to try and stick around in the 8-foot here. Continue to try and sit 2. This one maybe needing to curl to avoid a jam. Will just get enough and push it back, but it is red sitting the second shot, so I think it was important to try and get close to nose there and sit 2. Not allow Teton Cave the opportunity to now walk up, remove this back yellow stone and sit 2 themselves. I think it's pretty difficult to try and roll underneath either the corner guard or that yellow rock and still remain second shot. It seems to like it as it starts to move up now. We'll make contact with the yellow stone, get a little bit of a roll to the outside.
And that's just about as good as they could do there, really, Matt. They're sitting 2. That was the aim of that stone.
You know, I think it's a very experienced call to understand that you don't necessarily have to try and do everything with one stone. You don't have to try and roll all the way under. You roll halfway now. Maybe you get a bit of a nose hit by Team Johnston. Then you might have the opportunity to roll the rest of the way and still be second shot. Hazel Barda's first stone in this end. Like to remove this stone, roll to the center.
Well, that appeared to back up on them harder than they expected.
Absolutely, and that spot in the sheet has been doing that all week long. It really does look like it's starting to move, and it can even look like you're getting pretty close to nose. As soon as it gets to that far hog line, though, straightens out, even backs up about a quarter, third of a rock, and then you get caught like that rolling out. And now sort of the free opportunity here for Team Cave. Now since they're shot, they're going to try and draw around this guard. Need to be a little bit careful. That stone is on the left-hand side, is accessible outside the guard. Difficult to see how much room they have to get to the inside to make a double if this rock isn't placed properly. It's okay if it ends up a little bit open. First priority here would be to sit 2.
Looks like they might have just gotten that to sit 2. Like you said, Matt, that was pretty important for them to stay here because now you're seeing Team Johnston playing a hit on that stone.
It'll be interesting to see how these teams start to react as we close out toward the ends of this game here. I don't know about you specifically. Every person is different, Danielle. But for me, when I'm playing in these sort of big games with a lot on the line, you feel the nerves when you first get out there, maybe for the first time. But once you get your feet underneath you and you start playing, a lot of times you almost sort of forget what you're playing for. You really get into it until you get to those last like 2 ends, and it's a close game. Every shot starts meaning that much more, and as the pressure starts to build towards that 8th end, we'll see how these teams are able to adjust to that.
Exactly. You've got to approach it, and that's why it's so important to play in these higher pressure games throughout your career, because you get better at managing that anxiety around playing in a big game.
That's important. As you said, you learn to manage it. The nerves never really go away when you're playing on a big game, whether it's a Canadian final to represent your country or something like this to also represent Canada. You just learn how to deal with it better and how to sort of stay in the correct mindset.
We want the red to go that way and the yellow to go that way. So once we're by the
Opportunity
guard,
pass back now to Team Johnston after he just rolls out of the rings. Allows the opportunity now for Charlotte to come down, remove this red stone and sit to play for the force. Need to be a little bit careful here. If you ever notice this, there is the jam possibility at the back. You'd likely still sit 2. You'd like to not leave this red around if you can.
Hard over, hard push, yep.
It's such a
Yep.
jam.
That's
Wanna
right.
try
Thing there. I
that
think
or
just
that?
trying really hard to get that roll behind the corner. I don't necessarily know if the roll was all that important. You're going to sit 2 regardless. I think
Whatever you like
you
better.
just would have been better there to take a step back and make sure you avoid the jam. Do you think?
I like that they were trying to come close to the guard and get the roll, but true, at the end of the day, should have swept to miss the jam here, because now you can see that that hidden roll is still available. A little bit tighter now, but a little less weight, that you can bring the brushers into play and you can get this flop in behind. This is a pretty crucial shot when it comes down to it here, trying to get that momentum back into their favor.
Still going to take a lot of work to bring that back red into play.
But if they do in this point, this is one of those turning points where if you really make a shot, that can bring a huge ton of confidence to a team. So this is a big shot here for Skipper.
Most important thing here is control the weight. Know what you want to throw, know what you need to throw to get that little bit of a finish past the guard. Sweepers seem to be noting it's a little bit heavy. Sadie McCutcheon on the inside. Now they switch to Emily Madaw. Back to Sadie, trying to hold this stone, stay behind the guard. They'll remove the yellow from play, but just lost it a little bit, rolled a bit too far. Again, with that red at the back, Charlotte has to be a little bit more careful here. Make sure she holds the shooter around. Knows it. Difficult to. That would be a very flat double, so I think she can get away with a nose hit here.
That really is the priority at this point, to put that pressure on them, and either a tough double or a hit for only 1. So very important that they stick around on this shot.
I think as long as you avoid rolling towards that other yellow stone, you should be okay. Final stone here for Charlotte Johnston. Laying off it now, wanting a little bit of extra curl. Looks pretty close. Will get a fair bit of roll, but I think that'll do the job. Really no reasonable double, so Grace Cave going to very quickly put the broom down for her vice Julia Marco and slide down. There'll be an open draw to the 8-foot here for her single point in the 5th end.
Yeah, such a crucial shot for them to stick around to lie too.
We also could have rolled that way.
Now it'll be for Team Cave draw here, and then they'll be putting on their steel pants, I can imagine.
I don't mind rolling that way. I think this is an okay shot. I think I'd rather her play this.
Big shot here for Grace Cave.
Yeah,
Need to
but,
keep
like,
yourself
so
in this
first.
game. Hit the white. All your sweepers the opportunity to do something with it. Emily Madaw on the inside. Sadie McCutcheon on the out. Close. They seem to like it. At least full 8 foot here for single point. They'll clean it in. There's the call from the Vices. 1 red as it settles in just back of the button. Single point here for Team Cave and a 3-2 lead for Team Johnston. We'll be right back as we pick up play in the 6th.
Anyone can be scared to try something new.
But moving outside of your comfort zone
Can open new possibilities.
and having the courage to change something,
Doesn't change who you are.
So why try something new?
to innovate, to create a legacy.
To make an impact.
You have to earn it.
And you better be ready to enjoy it.
Because you never know who else you might make an impact on.
What impact will you make?
Goldline, the choice of champions.
Keep going. Can't hurt it. Nice shot, CD. Really nice. Woo.
We're back here in the 6th end. Team Cave did everything they could that end to set themselves up, but a couple good hits, making sure sticking around by Charlotte Johnston was able to get the force, so they hold on to a slim 3-2 lead, but these are sort of those positions that you pay attention to on the scoreboard. Being down 2 with as they were last end is still very much a toss-up in a game. Once you start getting into the lead and having the hammer, that's when we start looking at a team as having control of this game, and I think right now Team Johnston is in control. Now still 3 ends to play, a long way to go. Need to continue to execute your shots, but look to see Team Cave trying to force the envelope here, as we already see this end tossing up a center guard. After a bit of a miss by Team Johnston, they're going to try and sink right around and get a good steel rock in there early this end.
And that's what's huge. It's still tight. Mentioned in the last end how there were a few crucial shots that if made could have turned it around. They didn't, for Team Cave, they didn't quite get that in the 5th end, but if they come up with a few nice draws in behind and possibly even force Team Johnston into a miss or 2, then that can change around the game quickly.
This rock just slipping into the back of the 4-foot. Still very good spot for Team Cave. I like what there's. Grace sort of walked up and swept that rock a little bit, understanding that it was going to slip behind the tee. You want enough space so that if Team Johnston does end up coming down and freezing, there's room for you to follow them down, freeze, and be shot rock on the pin.
Your shot looked the exact same as your guard.
To lead here, Gala Cruikshank being asked to move this red rock, bump it back. Of course, that little extra weight instead of a freeze, this will track a lot straighter. Looks like she might have been a touch heavier than what was asked for. Just not able to get that little bit of curl. Sails right by.
And that's that miss that Team Cave was looking for. So here's one of these moments, a huge opportunity for Team Cave to sink a second one in behind. Top 4 is a call, but even burying top 8 would be great as well.
You had a lot more rotation on that one.
Back
I know when I was a junior in my experience coaching, and I'm sure it's the same for you, one of the things that sort of ends up getting drilled into your mind is sort of makes after misses. That when you see an opportunity and get a miss out of the opposition, you really need to take a second, take a deep breath, and focus on really executing, putting the pressure on the other team here. A little bit heavy by Emily Madaw. Bumps that redstone back, still sitting 2, but neither of these redstones now in a very good position. Team Johnston going to try and remove one of them, stick around for shot stone.
Yeah. Like, Kayla, you gotta go. Hard! Hard, Kayla, you got it. Hard! Kayla, hard.
make the hidden roll out here, but they left a guard there. So the other option on that call could have been a guard, because now you see with that rollout, Team Cape can now still play around the center line guard.
And almost hit the red rock she's peeling.
So it'd be called the redemption shot.
Close, yeah.
Emily Madon now here coming back, getting an opportunity to throw the same shot again. See if she's able to bring her sweepers in on this one a bit more. Sweepers seem to suggest that it's a little heavy, just back four this time though. Need to get it by the guard. Starting to grind in now, they really seem to like it. Switching with Julia Markle now on the inside, trying to get a little bit of extra finish.
A great team shot.
Absolutely. Maybe a half rock deeper than they would have liked, but still a very good outcome right on the pin. All the pressure now on Team Johnston. Going to try and remove this guard, give themselves an opportunity to play that shot stone later.
Just missing the back, but they are leaving themselves now a corner guard. It's a little tighter than they would have liked it. You can see it's guarding that red rock in the back and also choking off the forefoot. So Team Cape, this is what we talked about at the beginning of the end, what they needed in order to mount a comeback.
And maybe gets the minimum of what they needed. Moves that stone off of the center line and shooter, but that yellow stone now sort of in the way of that draw later as well. So keep an eye on that. One side of the sheet is now sort of taken away if Team Johnston ever needs to make a play into the button. Emily Madon seeming to like the weight on this guard, but maybe just thrown a little bit wider than Grace was asking for. Now trying to get a little bit of finish. Slips into the 12-foot, I think fully into the 12-foot. The opportunity here to make a nose double, and I think they should be in the ring. Well, it's difficult to tell. It'll be very close.
Can even hit this across the face, and then they would definitely roll into the rings. Shot and open up that forefoot.
Big shot here, an opportunity back now for Hazel Barta. Try to remove a couple red stones. Open things up for her skip. Get one. Fortune just jams it right back into the shot rock. A little bit of a roll. That stone now about half buried around that corner yellow stone.
10-5.
And as we are looking across all of the semifinal matchups here across our U21 and U18 divisions on sheet one, Jock holding a 3-1 lead over Team Fisher. Our other women's semifinal, Bella Crozier from Sudbury, Ontario, holding a slim 4-3 lead over Einspieler from Switzerland. Sheet three, Genjaga scoreless against McDougall, who has scored 1 point so far. On sheet five, Langford with a 5-0 lead over Team Sohn. As we get to our men's U21 semifinal matchups, Jacob Dobson holding a very close 2-1 lead over the guests from Switzerland, Team Herman. Team Stratton holding a 5-2 lead over the Americans, Team Sampson. And finally over on sheet eight, Liang up 6-0 on Barrett. A little bit surprised by that last call from Team Cave, hitting that yellow stone. That was third shot at the time. We'll see here, this one not able to get by, bumps off the guard, bumps the red into the rings, but I would have thought there would have been an opportunity before for Team Cave to maybe toss up a guard on their own stone. Yellow was sitting third shot, so not really a rock that you had to deal with, and also it was sort of in the way of a draw to the button too, so it's almost a good thing that it was there. Now gets a little bit fortunate here at when Team Johnston rubs on the guard, is able to bump that red in, and now she's gonna decide to throw up the guard on this redstone.
Just unlucky on that, but at the same time, it did open up the path here. So Team Cave is throwing a guard on their redstone, but it is more acting a bit more like a corner guard. So really in terms of placement, they want to bring this tighter to the rings so that it would be more difficult for Team Johnston to come around and make another play at it or even freeze at it.
Maybe if anything, you can leave sort of the outside of this rock exposed. Make sure, cover the inside half, the center line side of this redstone in the forefoot. Don't want to leave any opportunity for Team Johnston to hit and roll and get out of it. Been successful with those up to this point. Sweepers again saying it might be a little bit more than they thought, but this one's starting to dig in and curl. Now they just step back and pray. Hopefully it digs in just in time. Curls enough, maybe only about a quarter of that stone guarded. The correct side of it, as I said, but I think that one just maybe going a bit too far and leaving an opportunity here for Charlotte.
It was an opportunity left there. That was the spot we had seen curl earlier on in the game. That would have been a good spot to keep Rush down heavy.
I noticed, especially early on that shot, Sadie McCutcheon on the outside was the first one with a broom down. Almost like they expected that side to be very straight and keep the outside sweeper on so that you don't sort of drag the rock out in no man's land. But made an early movement. They weren't able to hold it. Now if Charlotte Johnston can control her weight here, maybe get a bit of a flop to the inside, the opportunity to possibly set up a multiple score here. A little bit of extra weight needs to get some curl here to stick around. This about 2/3. How far is she going to roll? Things around in the 12-foot 4-second shot.
Now that rollout gives Team Cave the opportunity to come around their center line guard in the spot that they just threw. So they know that this can have some nice finish with good weight, and even don't want to come too deep on this. Half of 4 is about plenty for this to force a really tough shot for Team Johnston.
I was going to say, it's a bit of an interesting situation with that yellow sticking around 4-second shot. You just have to be a bit more careful. Now, of course, Grace just threw the same path on her last one, as you said. I believe in the third end, this was more or less the spot that she tried to draw the forefoot a couple times. So should have a very good idea on what the weight is, but that little bit of extra pressure now to make sure this is in the rings in a good spot. Sweepers again, maybe saying a little bit heavy to start. Now it's starting to curl, should dig in, the weight should come off.
And that will dig in just in time. You can see though, a hair heavy and it pokes out the center line side, and slips behind the tee. So this opens up the door for Team Johnston to make a shot for the single point and to take a 2-point lead.
Gotta be fighting for.
Really nice line.
Grace Cave has done all she can here. Now she just has to sit back and watch as Charlotte Johnston needs this draw against 2 points, needs a piece of the button. Big chance in this game to keep control. Final stone in the 6th end, the outturn draw. Sweepers with their brooms down. They seem to like the weight early. Just waiting for it to start to make a move. There it is. Sierra Hardwick on the outside. They need the button. It's going to get there. Bump that redstone about a foot. Score her single point. Keeps control of this game. She now holds a 4-2 lead over Team Cave. We'll be right back shortly as we pick up play. 2 ends remaining here in this women's semifinal matchup to determine who will represent Canada at the Swiss Cup.
Okay, so me screaming on the top of my lungs is fine.
Doesn't matter if you're just learning how to play.
Or competing at the top level of the game.
We'll go for fun.
And Gold Line gear?
This is for everyone.
These shoes are more comfortable than ever.
These are stable.
These make me slide straight.
These make me slide fast. The new impact head maximizes performance.
And can we talk about grip zone technology?
Because it's on the brooms and the gloves.
Beginner or pro, they got something for you.
It's a gold line.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a Gold Line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Not curling yet. 7's good though. Just has to stop. Left teeth. Perfect.
Here, 2 ends remaining in the semi-final matchup of the Canadian Junior Cup. Coming to you live from the Oshawa Curling Club in Oshawa, Ontario. Matthew Hall beside me, Danielle Inglis once again.
Oh my god.
This is where we're going to see the pressure start to build up a little bit more on these teams. Of course, as mentioned earlier, with the other semi-final consisting of the team here from Switzerland and Team Einspieler facing off against Bella Crozier, who, due to a scheduling conflict, would not be able to go to Switzerland. Whoever wins this matchup will represent Canada at the Swiss Cup in Bern, Switzerland, end of February.
And this has been a game where Team Johnston has really come through with the pressure shots. We saw another one in that 6th end from skipper Charlotte, making that crucial draw against 2 to pick up the single. And huge, not only a score in the 6th, and to give your team that confidence going in here.
Yeah, and you can't say Team Cave has made it easy on them either. As you said, they're dealing well with the pressure. Made that tap against a number in the 3rd end. That one, a couple maybe rock placements by Team Cave they would have liked better, but certainly if Charlotte wasn't able to capitalize, it would be a very different game. There are 2 rocks in the rings to start here for Team Johnston. So tight center guard, with that, or corner guard, excuse me. With that rock where it is, though, as we've seen, really not a whole lot of curl off of the center line, so it's going to be very difficult to try and draw around that stone. Might be easier to have to make the tap, or in this case, find some way to get behind it, either off of a hit and roll.
Hard piece. Really hard piece.
A little bit wide, though, needs a long way to curl to make any sort of contact. They won't do anything, just slips by.
That's where we talked about earlier in the game about the importance of being able to, if you're not going to make the shot fully, what's your tolerance on the shot? And in that case, well, for Team Cave, they're wanting to make everything perfectly down by 2, but also not forgetting that even just a half shot can even make the difference at this point still.
And now Team Johnston will, looks like, try to toss up a center guard. Make sure it's very tight. If you slip into the rings, that's okay. Might be worth for Team Cave to look at these 2 stones in the top of the forefoot. Looks like there's a very nice pocket. Just because there's yellow rocks in the ring doesn't necessarily mean you need to remove them, especially this early in the end. Could be the opportunity to get a freeze in there and sort of push a couple yellows around, try and get something set up for yourself. That guard just over curling, exposing a little bit of that center line rock. A couple options here, Danielle. As I said, you could play the freeze. There is a makeable double on those yellow stones. Your shooter could possibly spin up behind that center guard that Team Johnston just threw. Is there anything that's sort of jumping out to you here?
Well, there's a timeout called, so we're about to hear some coaches come out and give their thoughts. But at this point, looking at just manipulating the rocks, don't necessarily need to make them go away right now, but staying in the pocket, corner frozen on that yellow would be ideal on that center line.
So we'll tune in to see what Team Cave's coach Jody McCutcheon has to say here.
pausing for a photo as well.
Like, I like the hit and roll on the top, but you're not going to be in.
Yeah.
So we're just rolling on top of our guard.
Okay, I'm just taking a look at which one is kind of hurting us right now.
Yeah.
I know, but where do you roll?
Can we roll?
You can't roll under. It's going on top of our cars.
I don't hate a second corner even it's only Emily's first, right?
Mhm.
And you might be able to move one of the yellows at the same time. You got to just keep the shooter hanging around. It's something you.
Yeah, I think just 10.
Yeah, because ultimately we just have to make sure we score in this end.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one.
10-5
that's
isn't
kind of
even that
causing
bad.
A little bit of trouble right now. So let's go get it. Everybody just take a deep breath. Great. Nice. Stay focused.
Yeah.
Let's go get it.
Coach. I like the sense of calm and focus that she brought to the team at the end of the day, just reminding them that stay focused and reminding them that the score is close, and just to keep that pressure on really and giving them that confidence boost.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, there's a lot of different ways you can play this, and there's a lot of shots that, depending on what you're trying to do, aren't necessarily wrong to play. But I do love what she said was, as you said, take a deep breath, relax, but whatever you're going to do, keep your shooter around, play it with soft weight. Just make sure that you're doing those small things that are going to give yourself chances later on in the end.
Exactly. So here, just rolling to the corner, great shot. And that was the point here in this one. I talked about you could play the freeze, or you could play what they just played, the run to the corner, which is also great and takes some of that pressure off. Now that being said, there's still Team Johnston can still make a guard on this one, and Team Cave will still be chasing.
2 red rocks now, though, that they have available to tap or angle run in if they need to later. See our Hardwick going to make this as difficult as possible, though. Attempt to throw up a nice tight guard. Bit of an overcurl is okay. Just don't want to allow Team Cave to hit and roll behind their own.
So now at this point, they mentioned they're now in chase mode. That was a pretty good guard. There's not much of that yellow, so we're seeing the peel called.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe. We got to see what happens.
One thing that was mentioned by the coach in their timeout was to make sure that they're able to score this. And of course, if you get forced, it's not great. You're down 1 without. You'll have to steal probably the 8 and the extra end. But if you give up a steal here, you're almost out of the game entirely. So make sure you have the opportunity to at least score 1. If you see the chance to maybe take on a bit of a risk and push, nothing wrong with that. You definitely want to get your 2 here if you can. But at the end of the day, make sure Grace can have something to score her point. Give yourself a chance to play the 8 then with something reasonable to go for.
Exactly, and here all the pressure is on Team Johnston to keep making 4 more perfect guards on this rock, because you can bet that if they leave a piece of this showing or they drop it high, that Team K will jump all over that. So pretty crucial shots coming up here in the back half.
Hazel Barta and her first rock this end seem to be suggesting it might be over curling. Now the sweepers are just off, want this to stop. Goes a bit more than that last one, so this might be that opportunity we were talking about if you're Team Cave. That rock in the 4-foot is about just less than half open. Looks like she was calling for maybe back 12 weight. Just try and bump it back. I think removing this Yellowstone would actually be a bit of a mistake. Just doesn't matter where you push it, whether it's back 8, back 12, just try and get as close to nose as you can. And if it's anywhere in the back of the rings, it's the possibility for a jam, something Team Johnston has to worry about. This one getting plenty of curl, though, past the guard. Actually going to get to the inside. Little bit of a flop. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't sure that was possible, but she made it look easy. Gets in behind that guard. Now Team Cave sitting one. This is the opportunity you were looking for.
And right now, there's only a tiny piece of that red rock. Would be difficult, not impossible to remove. They could pick it. And it looks like that's the call. Originally, they called the freeze. I would actually say that would have been a better shot to freeze to it because there's some tolerance. Even if they dropped it a bit short, they're still cutting off that 4-foot area. Now, the pick, if made, still a great shot, but much more difficult.
Yeah, and it looks like they're trying to keep the weight low, maybe throw like hack or just through. But I think, as you said, the problem with trying to remove it is it's very difficult to get enough of the redstone that you're not just going to roll out into the open and leave an open draw for Team Cave. Now this needs to do some curling to even touch the red at all. We'll sort of just whisk her off of it, go to the back. So not a great outcome there. But as you said, I think the freeze gives you a couple more options as well. You have the ability to be a little bit light. You could be even top 8, top 12. It's something you can run back later. The removal of that redstone is basically all or nothing. And even if you do make it, you're probably going to roll out into the open and just give an opportunity back to Team Cave anyways.
And here's the opportunity that they have to really sink this one in behind top 8.
I'd like to lock this right on their own redstone. Line seems to be pretty good. They're not worried about the guard. Look like Emily Madaw on the inside to try and get a little bit more curl, but it's really up to the sweepers here to not over sweep this. You don't want to bounce, just play to lock it on. Bump it about a couple inches, but that's pretty much as good as you could ask for.
Wow, that was a beautiful shot.
What I really liked was the management there between Grace in the rings and the sweepers. Sometimes you can panic on those a little bit and try and get that outside sweeper on it early. And you work so hard at trying to get it to curl that you add 3-4 feet to the rock and it ends up being too heavy, bouncing and rolling off. But they were really careful about that, only put Emily on it when they really felt like they had the space to work with the sweeping. Ends up upping it a little bit, but still ends up in a very good spot. Now Charlotte Johnston is going to be forced to an extremely difficult angle run. They might have looked maybe at running that center guard straight back. You'd be running your own color. If this isn't made, those 2 red rocks are still buried, but big chance here for Charlotte to get a bunch of reds moving.
Oh, goodness, real close.
And that's sort of what it was.
Well, it was a missed opportunity, and it's true. If you tried running your own back, always nice to be running your own. Though that being said, running their corner into there was a good idea from the perspective that it was better to try to get the run double. And they did open up the right-hand side of the sheet that you can see now. There is a possibility of a very narrow port draw, but the way it runs straighter, that's here. Now it's all up to Team Cave. What do they want to leave?
Yeah, if you're really worried about it, you can put a rock there, but it's hard to get.
Definitely
I like it too.
a lot to discuss here. I think obviously if you could draw to that red one right on top, that's perfect. You know, that's how you sort of play for the 4. Really at minimum, I think you want to make sure that you get your 3 here. Try not to put this in any position where you might leave a double or something and get forced, in quotation marks, to 2 points and be put into a tie game. I think if you're the sweepers, be very careful. If this even ends up a little bit light in the top of the 12, you might have a chance to hit that yellow one later.
I think you nailed it, Matt, when you said you don't want to leave a double. At this point, they're sitting really well. They can sit better if they sit 3 behind. But even remembering being a little bit short in this case is not the end of the world. You can still have a good result blocking off left-hand side.
So Grace Cave here, big chance here in this 7th end. Her first stone, looking to capitalize. After a miss by Charlotte Johnston, would like to put this in the top of the 8 foot. They need to sweep it though. Line's good now. Now going to try and get a little bit of finish as the sweepers try to get it to the 8-foot for third shot. Sadie McCutcheon on the inside. Emily Madaw on the out. I'm up a little bit light, but as I said, now just that's another rock that Charlotte Johnston has to be careful of. We're going to see a timeout. They're going to bring their coach out to discuss it. Early indications seem to be like they're looking at the angle run off the stone she threw on her last one.
Because you don't have enough of this rock is there, right? No. But I don't think we can draw anywhere. We can tap that. Yeah, I don't mind the tap. Because you just tap her back almost, but yeah.
Now they're not feeling confident in the draw, but there is one out on the left-hand side. They can do a cold draw to the 4-foot, but not exactly what Skipper wants to have to throw right now.
So let's see what their coach, Dave Hardwick, has to say.
That's the problem.
What if you froze onto?
Like you could almost follow it down, but
freezing for third shot doesn't really help us.
yeah. Run straight back. That won't rip anything.
Not throwing that.
No. Yes. Yeah.
2, yeah.
All right, what are your thoughts?
I was thinking like a tap on the yellow one, like my shooter from the last one.
All right, so all we need is 4-8 to force one, right? Or to hold the one?
Yeah.
We're trying, but obviously we want to try to get it.
Yeah.
Can we just draw straight to the 4? Do you like that? Or is it
Like this way?
Yeah. Come straight in and just draw for 4.
You don't think that yellow
know
one's
if it
too
gets
high?
by.
Yeah.
No, just around the outside. Side of the 4. This side of the 4 foot.
Oh, like wide around.
Yeah, just straight draw to the edge of the 4 foot.
Does that not give them a hit for 3?
Yeah, when they beat.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we got the run. It's the run in.
The run?
Or the, sorry.
Run or the tap?
Sorry, the tap.
Tap. Okay.
Okay.
I think you have to tap it.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought we were on.
That's okay.
But yes.
Okay, we got time. Let's go look at it again.
Good.
Yep.
Let's go.
So the coach was also thinking that wide draw, the team's not so convinced that it will have that curl. We did sort of see that finish there, so it is there. It would be tough to bury it and stay shot. So the team has more confidence in this tap on the rock that they just threw.
Yeah, and I think, I think the more I thought about it, I really started to like the draw. I understand it's very difficult. You would have to play it very close to those rocks in the rings, but I mean, you're kind of in trouble here, right?
Nothing is easy at this point.
You don't necessarily need to make it perfect. As long as you put it somewhere in the 8-foot, you're probably holding them to 3, which you'd still be down 1 with in the last end. Not the worst case scenario. This angle here is great if you can sort of get it in there, but I would just imagine that you might have a couple more options here, but I still think this is a more difficult shot. Wait, this is what they've decided to play. So Charlotte Johnston has not shied away from these big moments here yet this game. She takes on another one, trying to tap this Yellowstone back, but it's curling very early. Be careful, you don't want to end up bumping that redstone into the rings. I think she did. The red sitting first, second, fourth, and fifth, and it'll be an open hit here for 5 out of nowhere. Maybe just a little bit light, do you think? She didn't have to tap it all that far, but...
Yeah, it was light, and it looked... She might have been a touch narrow there, that rock, or got it going, because that rock started going early. Need to throw more weight on that angle. Really need to throw about back 4, back 8 in order to get that. Like you said, out of nowhere here, big opportunity for Team Cave.
Yeah, definitely had a lot of chances of things to run it in as long as you hit it on the outside, but here we go. Final stone in the 7th end, a big opportunity to sort of put her hand on the trophy. Final shot here by Grace Cave, the intern hit for 5. Sadie McCutcheon staying close. They're on it early. Need to go. This rock is curling to make contact. She will just clip enough. Will roll out of the rings, but it'll be a big count of 4 for Team Cave.
It's
Or is it 4? It seems to be a question, actually. I didn't realize that that back stone was in the rings. It looks like they've agreed now. It is 4. So it will be now a 6-4 lead for Team Cave. Huge swing. And it's now up to Charlotte Johnston to try and punch back with the hammer as we go to the 8th end to decide who will move on to Switzerland.
I missed a shot.
I made the wrong call. I didn't sweep hard enough. We let you down.
At least that's what they say.
Like they want us to quit. But that's not who we are. That's not what champions do. Champions fight back.
Champions rise again.
Champions are resilient. And make no mistake,
We are champions.
Gold Line, the choice of champions.
It's really curling. Back 8 almost.
And welcome back here as we pick up a play in our 8th end. Well, I almost said final end, but of course, Charlotte Johnston might have something to say about that as she has the hammer here. Gonna look to strike back, really sort of allowed maybe a couple misses and key misses in that last end, led to an opportunity for Grace Cave for 5. Unfortunately, just rolled out with their shooter there, but good enough. They do count 4 and they hold a 6-4 lead here. We know we talked about how much pressure there is in these games with how much is on the line. How does Team Johnston bounce back here in the 8th end?
Really doing what they've been doing and making those shots at crucial times. They're really going to need it this time. Now, what's interesting is they haven't played too much inside out coming home here. So this is slightly new territory, and you can see that happen with that rock just slipping into the rings. Kayla's not looking too happy about that.
Remember, Mary Chulvers was with me earlier this week, and she's, of course, career lead herself, and she was talking about how much pressure it is when you get into these situations, how important the lead stones are. You know, you may not necessarily win a game on a leads rock, but you can definitely lose it. And you have to be able to put those lead stones in good spots to give your team a chance. This one, slipping into the rings, they're going to hit it. Not saying the game is over by any means. Still opportunities here for Team Johnston, but a lot less margin for error now. Need to get a guard up. Need to more or less almost play 7 perfect shots to finish this game to try and generate the chance to tie it up.
Exactly, and Team Cave just had a nice hit and roll. We saw there, sticky around on the center line to continue to put the pressure on.
Keep an eye on that stone in the back of the 12-foot. That rock top 8, definitely a possibility to draw around it later, maybe play a freeze, get something set up there. Here's a good adjustment by Kayla Cruikshank, gets the corner guard up. A decision time here for Grace Cave with a 2-point lead. How many rocks do you want to leave around? Definitely not a position where you can sort of just run away and hide, but need to still be very precise with these shots. Gonna call for the tap from Emily Madaw. Try to tap it straight back into the 4-foot, choke off the scoring area for Team Johnston.
Wait, looks good, Emily. Just back 4.
Julia Marco on the inside, trying to hold this stone, would really like to tap it straight back, leave it buried. That's really an excellent shot there by Emily Madaw. Now just so many red rocks around. Team Johnston going to ignore them and try and play one draw here, but at some point you're going to have to deal with these stones.
But this is good patience, just leaving those stones there for later. But this really is a critical draw around behind.
We've seen all week how difficult this draw is to make. It will sort of start to curl. Once it crosses center, it'll straighten out, even back up a little bit. Watch them to switch. Now they will. Trying to get that little bit of finish. Get it behind the guard.
And this is one, got the line, but not quite the weight because it's so straight. They even need to think about for that shot is, it could have even been in the back as long as it was buried because now it's accessible for Team Cave.
Getting to the point now with so many red rocks sitting around, you don't want to give Team Johnston some sort of chance to freeze or things to play with. Looks like the call might be just to try and hit and roll on the center line, but if you end up rolling out here, not the worst thing in the world. Now this rock is starting to move. Sadie McCutcheon trying to get a little bit of finish, removes the yellow stone.
And it was nice. That was a tough one to stick around on, really, and really need to make sure that that was out of there. So nicely managed. Again, for Team Johnston, wanting to bury this rain behind, even in the back of the rings, is fine. Just wanting to make sure it's fully buried.
They'll try this at least one or two more times. If they're not able to get this going, they see a freeze on the shot stone at some point. Hazel Barta, though, now on this. Trying to get it by the guard. It's looking very good. Now getting Kayla Cruikshank on the inside. Get a little bit of extra curl. And an excellent adjustment there by Sierra Hardwick. Still not fully buried, but I think good enough in such a straight spot that it's not worth taking a crack at. Just walk up, just peel the guard, keep things simple for yourself. Still plenty of difficult work here for the Johnston team, so you don't need to do anything for them. Julia Markle attempt to remove this corner guard.
And a beautiful shot. And under pressure now as well. That's what's important to note about all these shots coming up here in the 8th is that every single one has that extra amount of pressure knowing what's on the line.
Good back it up.
Yeah, 11.
So unnatural. Oh, that seems like so weird to throw a peel this way. It's okay, got it out.
They're going to try and move this redstone. Danielle, was that the call? Maybe make some
Appears
kind
that
of
that's
double?
a hidden roll is the call. Yep, catching the double on the back.
Be very careful, though. This needs to do some throwing to not run it into their own yellow.
They kept their shooter around. Now it's 5th shot. They did expose the red one at the back.
Team Cave, though, you hit that back one, you sit 4.
You can
see a
sit
couple-
4 or even just really making it go away at this point, avoiding the jam at the back.
Yeah, with only 3 rocks to come. I mean, there are a couple doubles, but it's difficult to see them getting all of the stones and trying to bring that 5th rock into play. Julia Marco maybe a little bit tight out of her hand. Sadie McCutcheon on the inside. Her would like to keep this around if they can.
Yeah. Well, now it's set good, and it does put a bit more pressure on. However, any rocks behind the tee right now are to the advantage of Team Johnston, who's going to be playing bumps and freezes for the rest of the end. I would even suggest that if they have some good line on this rock, they would want to bump this red rock back. But even a freeze again is still a pretty good result.
Try and push it back right beside that other red stone in the back of the 4. Give yourself some space to work with, needing 2 points to tie the game. Sweepers thinking it's maybe a little bit up. Could be precise with this. If it's a little heavy, you can hit a little bit thinner. Put it behind the yellow rock in the top of the 12-foot. Give yourself something to work with, but just goes right by, touches
Sorry.
the second red stone, rolls to the side of the 8-foot.
Sorry, it's just heavy.
You got it, Grace. Nice and easy. You got lots of time.
I think if Team Cave is able to remove this rock,
Heavy on that one.
gonna have to see a pretty good freeze by Charlotte to try and set up for her second point.
She doesn't really need to stick around here because red is sitting, well, first, third, and fourth. So even if she rolls out here, like you said, Matt, it would have to be a nice freeze by Charlotte. It would be essentially a skipper's juice at this point.
Low, clean. Low. Yup. 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 Yeah, hard to stay. Hard to stay. Hard. Hard. All the way. All the way. Really nice sweep.
And a beauty, made it go away. Stuck around for their second shot, so now it's up to Charlotte Johnston for a skipper's due. Seeing a really good freeze here.
And what's nice is with that yellow stone in the top of the 12-foot, almost acts as a little bit of a guard. You don't have to necessarily make the perfect nose freeze here, and Grace may not be able to pick it out.
Hurting us.
Definitely the weight needs to be very close here. Keep that red stone within the vicinity.
Counting that.
Charlotte Johnston here with her first rock in the 8th, then trying to keep her hopes alive.
Yeah, but we can just talk it out as a team here.
Sweepers seem to think it's a little heavy. It looks like it's going to bump that red stone. Try and get as
It's coming over really good.
nose as you can. Make contact, push the red stone to the back of the 8-foot, roll into the open, and just make this yellow stone go away for Grace Cave.
Okay.
As Charlotte Johnston make 5 red stones disappear, that should lock up the game for you.
It was really good, Grace.
And a trip to Switzerland.
I hear it's a beautiful part of the world in late end of February. Sure, it'll be cold.
Snow on the mountains.
That one out. For 2. That's true. Okay, we need her to miss this one.
Final stone here in the 8 from Grace Cave. The opportunity to book her trip to Switzerland to represent Canada at the Swiss Cup.
Just clean, just clean.
Hear the call, just clean. Sadie McCutcheon with the broom down.
Nice shot, Grace.
She will make contact. Move the yellow stone.
Round the horn.
I think that's going to do it. I
Oh, what the hell?
might see a Hail Mary here just to see if
It's like
what you can do, but that's all but over now, Danielle.
Sure. Do you want to throw it? We got
I
nothing
think
to
so.
lose.
I mean, nothing to lose. Might as well just throw the shot really for fun at this point. But not seeing the shot there to remove all 5 reds.
Round the horn quad.
Real's a really nice spot, too. Real's a good spot, too.
I gotta move 4 rocks, man. 5 rocks.
Charlotte Johnston in the hack. See what she can get moving here. Final stone of the 8th.
Sierra, yep. Hard over.
Sierra
yep,
Hardwick
Yep.
trying to make contact. Gets 1, gets 2, gets 3, but it's just not enough. Too many red stones in play, and that'll do it. Grace Cave, Julia Markle, Emily Madaw, Sadie McCutcheon, their coach Jody McCutcheon will represent Canada. There's the reaction there. Will represent Canada at the Swiss Cup, end of February.
Did you say we heard it so nice?
Excellent matchup here in the semifinal. Great game there by Team Johnston. Did all they can, but unfortunately, just a tough seventh end, got themselves into some trouble, and all credit to Team Cave, capitalized on that opportunity they were looking for. So that'll do it here for this afternoon. As we saw, Team Cave, now Team Canada, but still plenty to go. We have a women's final to play this afternoon. The men's semis are still going on. We have 2 draws left to go today here at this Canadian Junior Cup from Oshawa, Ontario. My name is Matthew Hall. On behalf of myself and Danielle Inglis, we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in this afternoon. Next draw is scheduled for 5:30, so tune in to our YouTube page to see when that broadcast will go live. Thank you very much.